Welcome to NACTV Reads the News. My name is Linda Dick, and I'm one of the many volunteers that help create programming for our station. NACTV can be seen on MTS Channel 30 or 1030, Westman Cable Channel 17, Bell Satellite Channel 592, or online at nactv.tv. These programs are made possible by our volunteers, staff, advertisers, as well as donations made by you, the viewers. If you are enjoying your NACTV experience, please consider supporting us by either a donation or by volunteering. You can contact our office at 204-476-2639 or at nactv@wcgwave.ca. And today's paper I'll be reading is Friday, January 27th, 2023. Neepawa Banner and Press. First article by Ken Waddell. Neepawa's hospitality on display. The Neepawa Titans Parent-Billet Weekend has become an annual highlight event for the team. This year, weekend organizers Tammy Dudenhofer and Tara McCarty went all out, and the results outstanding. In total, 22 sets of parents and grandparents converged on Neepawa, joining forces with the billet families for a fun-filled weekend. Parents and grandparents of the players came from across Manitoba, the Prairie Provinces, Northwest Territories, as well as Michigan, Illinois, and Arizona. The weekend kicked off with a reception at the Emperor's Lounge at the Yellowhead Center. The Emperor's Lounge was just built this year by the Titans. It has seen use as a birthday party spot and as a VIP space. The lounge will see extensive use by the Viterra Curling Bonspiel, which is happening in February. The group attended the Friday night game and followed by a pizza and wings party at Neepawa Chicken Chef restaurant. Chicken Chef was packed, and the players got a chance to introduce their parents and billets to everyone. Saturday morning, a pancake breakfast was held at the Neepawa Curling Club, and it was well attended. When you have hockey players and families gathered together, good food always attracts a crowd. Dudenhofer and McCarty set up a car rally scavenger hunt that was a great success as well. Some of the parents took part in the first Neepawa Titans Texas Hold'em poker tournament that was held at the Neepawa Curling Club as well. Tournament organizers Ryan Ford and Jamie Denbo both said the tournament was well attended, with almost 50 players from near and far across Manitoba. Ford says, "The poker players were very pleased, and the poker players hope we can hold more tournaments." Several poker players reported to the Neepawa Banner that the event was very well run. The team contracted a consultant to ensure that the tournament was professionally managed. The Neepawa Curling Club operated their popular bar, and sales were reported to be brisk. The poker players had supper catered by Chicken Chef. At the Parent Billet Saturday supper hour at Bruce Brothers Restaurant in downtown Neepawa, the restaurant was filled to capacity for a leisurely and excellent dinner that was attended by many of the players, billets, and parents. Weekend visitors had a chance to participate in a spin cycle event on Sunday morning and had some time off through Sunday. Sunday dinner was at Boston Pizza, and the team room was filled to capacity for the pre-game meal. The Titans played a game Sunday at 6:30 and it was a HyLife Foods sponsored game with over 800 people attending. The crowd was loud and enthusiastic. The weekend finale was a group photo taken at center ice as parents, billets, and players said their goodbyes after what was reported to be a fun-filled weekend. And Owen Devereaux reporting fatal house fire in Neepawa. A 68-year-old man is dead after an early evening fire at a home in Neepawa. RCMP Sergeant Paul Managree said that emergency personnel received the report of a blaze in a private residence on Walker Avenue just after 7 p.m. on Thursday, January 19th. When firefighters entered the house, they found the resident was already dead. The fire has been determined to be accidental. Neepawa RCMP, as well as the Office of the Fire Commissioner, are investigating the fatality. Van and semi collide at Kelwood intersection by Ken Waddell. On Tuesday, January 24th at approximately 8:30 a.m., the Spruce Plains RCMP, along with fire and EMS, responded to a motor vehicle collision involving a semi-truck and cube truck on Highway number 5 near the community of Kelwood. Driving conditions were described by people in the area as whiteout, with swirling snow on the highway when the vehicles met. Preliminary investigation revealed that a northbound semi-truck was making a left turn when a northbound cube truck collided with the rear of the semi. The turn off of number 5 onto Kelwood doesn't have a passing lane, which may have been a partial cause of the accident. The driver of the cube truck was taken by Stars Air Ambulance to Winnipeg Health Sciences Centre with serious injuries. The driver of the semi was not injured. A forensic collision analyst attended the scene. It is believed that road conditions were a factor in this collision. The investigation is ongoing. Several locals were honored with the Queen's Jubilee Medal. The Queen Elizabeth II Platinum Jubilee Medal recently celebrated the 70th anniversary year of Queen Elizabeth's accession to the throne, which began on February 6th. A total of 1,000 medals are being awarded, including 80 at a ceremony on Tuesday, January 17th in Brandon. Some of the notable recipients from our region included from left to right: Jason Young, Neepawa; Jovine Bulio, Marius; Gordon Wilson of Glenella; Calvin Buchert from Gladstone; Ray Drayson from North Cypress Langford; Colin Woolman, Spring Hill Colony, Rosedale. And front left is Agassiz MLA Eileen Clark, Geraldine Mason, Bagot Margaret Scott on behalf of the late Gladwin Scott from Carberry, Don Walmsley, Neepawa, and Brenda Tunn from Plumas. Congratulations to the Queen's Jubilee Medal winners. Now, by Evan Devereaux, stop with the careless grease disposal. The town is concerned about what's going down the drain. It's a problem the town of Neepawa has experienced before: the improper disposal of products such as grease, causing major issues in the sewage and drainage system. During a town council meeting held on Tuesday, January 17th, Manager of Operations Dennis Sakay was asked to provide details on the issue happening in the far northeast corner of the community. Saket recorded that a grease plug was found in the system. It's unfortunate. We've tried to express our concern with residents. You just can't pour grease down the drain. There is far too much of it happening, and it is wreaking havoc with our system. When fat, oils, and grease are poured into drains, the liquid cools and forms a hardened mass in the sewer pipe, which over time can block sewage flow. Saket added that the town has been spending an exorbitant amount to combat the issue. Councillor Daryl Gerard elaborated on Saket's point, adding that the pumper truck the town purchased just 8 years ago is worn out and almost due for replacement. He said that short of a lifespan for a vehicle like this is very unusual. Over the years, public works crews have had to unclog many items from our system items that are not supposed to be flushed or drained. Residents are once again strongly advised to not pour grease down the sink or in the toilet, and do not rinse grease down the sink. March 10th to 12th, Brookdale will be holding a 6-end mixed bonspiel and a 3-on-3 hockey tournament. Entry fee for the hockey team is $210. Curling teams, $160. Hockey entries, contact Mark at 841-3367 or Gord at 841-3655. Curling entries, contact Kelly 476-0688 or Brent 724-0942. And at the Roxy Theatre on January 27th and 28th, showtime 7:30, and January 29th, matinee at 2 p.m. Come and see Puss in Boots, The Last Wish. Right in the Center by Ken Waddell. Seeking Contentment. The world is in turmoil, both at home and far away. From economics to mental health to wars, there are plenty of things to worry about. It's as if we are in a constant state of grief. So what does one do? We have to carry on until our days are done. As I wrote a little while ago, it's important to count our blessings. It's important to know that no matter how tough life may be or seem to be, there's usually much to be thankful for. Dark times come from illness, death of a loved one, or from financial stress. But the sadness becomes less and the sunshine of blessings can be found. In dark times, I have some touchstones, which I will share with you. In the Netherlands during World War II, the 10 Boom family were watchmakers. The dad, the mum, and 2 daughters were all in the watch business. When Germany invaded the Netherlands, their town became under the harsh German rule. They were Christians, but hid some Jewish people in their home. I believe the hideaways were kept safe, but the family were imprisoned in a work camp. The parents died, and after much mistreatment, so did one of the daughters. Her death was hastened by being beaten by one very nasty guard. But one daughter, Corrie ten Boom, survived. In 1947, she later wrote she was speaking in Germany to many different groups of very downtrodden, defeated people. After one meeting where she spoke on God's forgiveness, a man came to the front to meet her, and she recognized him as the guard who had beaten her sister. He said how wonderful it was to be forgiven by God, but he didn't realize who he was speaking to. Corrie ten Boom had great difficulty forgiving the man, but she said, and so woodenly, mechanically, I thrust my hand into the one stretched out to me. And as I did, an incredible thing took place. The current started in my shoulder, raced down my arm, sprang into our joined hands. And then this healing warmth seemed to flood my whole being, bringing tears to my eyes. I forgive you, brother, I cried with all my heart. For a long moment we grasped each other's hands, the former guard and the former prisoner. I had never known God's love so intensely as I did then. Corrie ten Boom could not forgive except by the grace and power of God flowing through her. To me, that story is indeed a touchstone, a marker by which we can all stand. If God could give the badly abused Dutch watchmaker the strength to forgive the abuses she saw and experienced, then surely God can give us the strength to forgive others and to carry on with the burdens of life. There are two other touchstones in my life. One is my father taught me the importance of making people laugh. The other one is to serve. My mother, aided by Dad sometimes, taught me to serve. Find a way in the world to serve. And lastly, there are millions of problems in the world thrown into our minds by media all the time. We now know instantly when tragedy or violence strikes. We can't solve all the problems. We can solve some, but not all of them. Forgive, laugh, serve others, and God. Therein lies the key, not to necessarily to happiness, but to contentment. And reading Homebodies by Rita Friesen. I may be getting old. Well, older is a given. That's calendar talk. But old is often a mindset. I have truly appreciated the gentle January we have just experienced. The old part of me remembered the winter that the temperature never went above 0 degrees, old temperature, day or night. My father was away, perhaps at university, perhaps teaching. We lived near Graysville, and his first full teaching year was at McCreary, so he made it home most weekends. As a farming family, we had switched from cattle to sheep, easier for a young person to handle, keeping 4 or 5 Jersey cows for milk production. We had tried chickens, pigs, Black Angus cattle, and stuck with the sheep for the longest. It was the chores that I recall distinctly. The water was already in the barn. It required filling troughs, not pail hauling it. The square bales were still stacked outside and needed to be lugged and hauled through slathers of snow. It was the warmth of the barn that was significant. From out of the cold, so deep it stiffened the hair in the nasal passage, into the moist atmosphere and safety of the barn. The noise upon entering was a cacophony of sheep baaing, cows mooing, and the barn cats meowing. Each creature was eager to be fed and cared for. As the ewes settled down for their feed, the lambs rejoiced in their open play space, caviting and stiff leg prancing with glee. The cows munched and crunched while the sound of milk filling the pail changed with the depth of the liquid. From the ping-ping to the slush, hush, shush, the froth and foam on the surface acting as a silencer. Even the cats, accepting a well-directed stream of milk direct from the cow while waiting the bowl full, grew silent. I know the old is romanticizing the work. This week, I have been engaged with thought-provoking conversations. Has the younger generation lost the work ethic we so valued? And if so, why? Perhaps we should be more realistic about the value of unrelenting hard work. Several of the proposals for marriage that I received were based on my ability to work hard. Yep, really that romantic. I believe that youth today will work devotedly when they have a purpose. The work/chores assigned to me when I was young benefited the family, the farm. The work was essential for the whole. And we knew that hard work brought results. We expected to own a vehicle and a home. It wasn't unusual to expect to take vacations and toys. Some of these expectations are almost unrealistic today simply because of the economy and the cost of living. This does feel like old thinking. The past was not always the good old days. There were my good old days. For more than surviving, I thrived. Thankfully, I have learned to embrace change. Move the furniture, change my coffee brand, present a new dish, knowing that I may refuse it, introduce new thoughts. That's not old thinking. I aim to be an old person, not an old thinking person. And Faithfully Yours by Neil Strojan. We are family. It was another ordinary day in ancient Athens, Greece. Most of the city's residents were going about their daily routines, working at their jobs, or visiting the markets to stock up on needed supplies. But as part of their daily routine, most Athenians stopped by the Areopagus to see which philosopher had come to town to discover what new thing was being discussed and to take part in the debate. On this day, they were in for a surprise. A man named Paul of Tarsus was being led into the crowd and asked to explain his new teaching that was filled with things that sounded rather strange to the cultured ears of the Athenians. What they didn't know was that Paul was way ahead of them. He had been walking around the city, taking in the sights and sounds of a place filled with people from all parts of the ancient Roman Empire. As different groups of people moved into Athens, they brought their religious beliefs with them, and before long, temples and shrines to gods of all kinds could be found within the city walls. One shrine caught Paul's eye. It was dedicated to an unknown god. The Athenians were very religious. They were also very superstitious. They knew what would happen if they offended a god whose name they knew. But they feared what might happen if they offended a god about whom they knew nothing. So they built a shrine and offered sacrifices to an unknown god, just to avoid offending it. That gave Paul the opening he needed to share the good news of Jesus Christ with his people. He began by telling them what he had seen and then made this incredible statement. I am going to tell you about this unknown God. He is the God who from one ancestor made all nations to inhabit the whole earth, and he allotted the time of their existence and the boundaries of the places where they would live so that they would search for God and perhaps grope for him and find him, though indeed He's not far from each one of us. Whenever I read those words, I am moved by their significance. They reveal a truth that has been discussed, argued, disputed, and despised through the centuries. But nothing can change the fact they convey, that every person on this earth can trace his or her ancestry to one common ancestor, to the first human pair about whom we read in the opening chapters of the book of Genesis. How we got to where we are at this point in history is a long story, far too long to tell in a year's worth of columns. And while that history is important, and while it reveals some significant issues with which we must deal, it can never blind us to the fact that we all have a common ancestor, which means that we are family. To me, at least, the implications of those 3 words are staggering. So staggering that I plan to devote the next 2 to 3 columns to exploring what this means and how it can change the way we interact with people whose countries of origin, backgrounds, customs, cultures, and core beliefs differ from our own. As part of the same family, we owe it to ourselves and others to treat everyone we meet with the same dignity and respect we expect to receive from them. We will explore this idea further next week. Journey for Sight Motors into Neepawa. Journey for Sight, an annual Lions Club fundraiser, made a stop in Neepawa on Saturday, January 21st. The group made their stop at the local Dairy Queen to stretch their legs and get a quick meal before continuing to their target destination. Final results of the fundraiser are currently pending. Full details will appear in a future edition of the Neepawa Banner and Press. And a letter to the editor, Billet Weekend Appreciated. Often the work volunteers perform in a community does not get the recognition or positive feedback it deserves. Thank you for everything this past weekend. Thank you for all your work to make everyone really feel part of the Neepawa Titans family. It was not only enjoyable, but important for my wife and I that parents, billets, players, board members, and the community of Neepawa had the chance to connect. We definitely left with a greater feeling of Titan proud. I want to especially acknowledge Tammy Dudenhofer and Tara McCarty. Wow, these 2 ladies did an amazing job. All the activities they planned and the time they dedicated to us this past weekend was so much appreciated. There was plenty of food, activity, conversation, exercise, and laughter. Thank you again for a very memorable weekend. Respectfully, the Cormans from Killarney, Manitoba. Thumbs up, thumbs down. We have 2 thumbs up today. Thumbs up to Pastor James and the church family at the Calvary Chapel Church for all the good they're doing for the community. Submitted by Landa Jerome and Rennie Yeomans from Neepawa. And thumbs up to all those who bought Elks calendars. The Elks will continue to support community projects. Elks Lodge, Neepawa. HyLife is praised for in-house innovation. Submitted by Banner staff. A new and improved version of a piglet weaning ramp at HyLife's pork processing plant in Neepawa is receiving high praise on a global scale. The ramp was developed by HyLife's in-house team of engineers to make transporting piglets easier on both the animals and the employees. In a media release discussing the innovation, the company stated that it designed the ramp in response to employee feedback. The workers expressed that picking up the piglets and bringing them to another employee performing vaccination placed a strain on both them and the animals. The weaning ramp eliminated that stress by having the piglets enter the alleyway and move up the ramp in groups. Once up the ramp, the gate using a pulley system is lowered. Employees can easily begin picking the piglets from waist height to be vaccinated. The animals are then gently placed on a slide depending on their sex. Gradual sloping slides off each side of the station bring the piglet back down slowly and safely to the ground level. We knew there was a better way. We prioritize animal care and lean on our in-house experts and continuous improvement team to develop a creative solution. The result is a ramp that eliminates the need to pick up piglets. This means less stress and more safety for both our animals and employees, said Lyle Lowen, Senior Vice President of Farms Division at HyLife. This innovation has received notice across the industry, as the weaning ramp recently won the Dr. F.X. Ahern Prize for Innovative Pork Production at the 2023 Banff Pork Seminar. This award is given to those who create original solutions to pork production challenges in North America. As well, the invention has been praised by a well-regarded animal scientist, Temple Grandin, a professor of animal science at Colorado State University. He toured the Neepawa site during a recent visit to Canada, and she said she was impressed by the company's animal handling practices and the new ramp. It gets rid of the back-breaking work. It's also going to improve good treatment of the pigs, as the job is so much easier. And you make a job easier, and people are going to like it a whole lot better. That is something the whole industry should have, said Grandin. HyLife is now investing into the installation of ramps across all sow barns. Well done, HyLife. And by Helen Drysdale, out of Helen's Kitchen, how to use iffy foods. Shopping smart is very important for saving money at the grocery store. Use the grocery store flyers to plan your weekly menu around the items on sale in your grocery store and bring a grocery list. Buy larger bags of potatoes, carrots, apples, and oranges, as they are usually cheaper per pound. This goes for rice and pasta as well. The further you can stretch your food dollars these days, the better off you are. With careful planning, a little imagination, and a little work, we can eat well while spending less. Here are some ideas that may help you use it up when you may be tempted to just throw it out. Soft apples. Chop them up to put in a coleslaw or broccoli salad. Make an apple crisp. Dice and add to pancakes. Dice and make apple muffins. Make chunky applesauce. With bananas. If they are overripe, make banana bread. Mash and use in pancakes. Make a baked banana dessert. Put them in a smoothie. Make banana cookies. The possibilities are endless. Celery, peppers, or onions that need using up, if you do not need them immediately, wash, chop, and freeze for soups, stews, stir fries, etc. Wilted greens, refresh in a bowl of ice-cold water for several hours. The leaves will drink the water and refresh. Leftover buttermilk or sour cream, freeze it for later. Thaw and use for baking. Ham, chop first and freeze in smaller amounts to use for Denvers, scrambled eggs, soups like potato soup, add to hash browns, etc. Bread crusts, freeze for dressing and bread puddings. Make croutons or dry in the oven at 250 degrees to make breadcrumbs. And here is a budget-friendly soup and served with a slice of bread and cheese, and your meal is complete. If you like tomatoes in your soup, use the larger size can. If not, use a smaller can of diced tomatoes. And Helen has submitted a recipe for hamburger soup and apple pancakes. You might want to check those two out. It's in the Banner and Press, January 27th. Looks like two yummy recipes. Turning the page, Ag Days brings in a crowd of all ages. Farmers, suppliers, and agriculture industry supporters flooded the Keystone Center in Brandon this past weekend as Ag Days has come back stronger than ever. The facility had egg displays in every corner, much to the delight of suppliers and customers alike. Ag Days were held from January 18th to the 20th. Pictured above and right, students crowded around Ag Days booths, including the University of Manitoba. Pictured below, the main arena was a hub of activity, and in addition to government officials, there were numerous speakers on every topic imaginable. Beautiful Plains School Division having their kindergarten registration for the 2023 fall term. And the registration will be held at regular school hours at the following schools. Hazel M. Kellington in Neepawa, February 6th to the 10th, all day. J.M. Young School in Eden, kindergarten registration held February 7th and 8th, mornings only. And a Brookdale School, the registration will be held on February 7th and 9th in the afternoon. And at R.J. Waugh Elementary School in Carberry, kindergarten registration will be held February 9th and 10th, all day. Now turning to sports, the Neepawa Titans slip up against the Freeze and the Flyers by Owen Devereaux. A pair of losses last weekend by the Neepawa Titans could come back to haunt them at the end of the MJHL's regular season. The Titans were bested 3-2 in overtime on Sunday, January 22nd by the Winkler Flyers. The more devastating defeat, however, came 2 nights earlier as Neepawa fell to the Winnipeg Freeze by a score of 2-1. Despite the final result indicating otherwise, the Titans played much better than the Freeze for the majority of the evening, outshooting Winnipeg 38-18, and also having significantly more quality scoring chances. The Freeze were led to victory, though, by a superb performance by goaltender Keegan Gordon. Will Height had the only goal of the night for Neepawa, while Evan Sterling and Tristan Bear picked up goals for Winnipeg. A few nights later, Neepawa faced a much tougher challenge in the Winkler Flyers, who are in third place in the East Division. The Titans on two separate occasions jumped out to a lead, with Parker Corman scoring for the Titans in the first period. After Winkler's Dalton Andrew tied it up in the second, the Titans reclaimed the advantage with an unassisted effort from Briley Wood. That gave the Titans a 2-1 lead going into the third. An early goal in the third by Andrew once again tied things up, and that's how it would end in regulation. And in overtime, Connor Jensen scored for the Flyers just 1:34 into the period to give Winkler the win and the extra point in the standings. The win improved Winkler's regular season record to 24-10-5-1, while Neepawa dropped to 17 wins, 16 losses, 8-1. These recent results have Neepawa sitting 3 points back of the final playoff spot in the MJHL's highly competitive West Division. Next up for the Titans will be a pair of games against the Flyers. First on Friday, January 27th in Winkler. Those two clubs will then meet for a third straight time on Saturday, January 28th, when they once again face off in Neepawa at the Yellowhead Center. And again, submitted by Owen Devereaux, mixed results for the Neepawa Tigers. It was a real roller coaster ride out there on the ice for the Neepawa Tigers on January 18th and 19th. Just over 16 hours after they collected an incredibly one-sided 13-1 win over the Crocus Plainsmen, Neepawa was brought back down to earth with a deflating 7-3 loss to the Killarney-Wawanesa Raiders. For the second time in as many weeks, a Tigers player registered 6 goals in one game. While Jory Kobaki collected the double hat trick last week, it was Tarek Lapointe who pulled off the impressive feat in Neepawa's 13-1 win over Crocus Plains. He also added a pair of assists in the same game. The other half dozen goals were all singles, as Riley Davey, Daniel Lissaway, Hayden Delaloy, Cohen Kobaki, Brody Pollock, and Miles Willerton scored. Other notables included 4 assists for Clinton Musso and 3 assists respectively for Ward Brister, Jory Kobaki, and Callan Dembo. Austin McCallick picked up the win in net for Neepawa. But it was a tougher go against the Raiders. Neepawa was back on the ice for a matinee game at the Yellowhead Center against the Killarney-Wawanesa Raiders on Thursday, January 19th. This game was a fundraiser for the Miles for Mental Health Initiative. In this contest, the Raiders had a bit more fight in them than did Neepawa's previous opponent, as Killarney would win 7-3. Brody Pollock, Jory Kobaki, and Tarek Lapointe all scored for the Tigers in the loss. Neepawa did have other chances at goals, including one shot that rang off the post and another chance that was swept out of the crease just millimeters from crossing the goal line. These results now have Neepawa's record in the Westman High School Hockey League standing at 12-5-1-1. Good enough for 5th place in the league standings. And a birthday bash at the Yellowhead. Grayson Steen and his friends were celebrating his birthday in the Neepawa Titans Emperor's Lounge at the Yellowhead Center on January 22nd at the Titans game versus the Winkler Flyers. And the Bombers blanked the Farmers. Matt Saylor set scoring record for Minnedosa. The Sunday, January 21st game against the Neepawa Farmers was a huge one for Matt Saylor and the rest of the Minnedosa Bombers. Not only did Minnedosa end the night with a dominant 9-0 win over their Yellowhead Highway rivals, but Saylor set a notable milestone for his hometown team. With his 4-point performance, 1 goal and 3 assists, Saylor set the record for most career points in Bomber team history. As of Wednesday, January 25th, the website Elect Prospects had Saylor's points total listed as 376 points from a combined 186 games in the North Central and Tiger Hills Hockey League. The Bomber acknowledged and congratulated Matt on the milestone on their social media right after the game. The win improves Minnedosa's record to 10-6-0, while Neepawa falls to 6-10. Getting back into the routine, Neepawa Novice Gymnastics Club hosts the competition. The competitive gymnastics season is underway for the Neepawa Novas. The local gymnastic club started off its 2023 year hosting an event at the Yellowhead Center on Saturday, January 21st. Neepawa Nova's gymnastics coach, Amanda Lee Batillier, said that everyone involved with the club is very excited about getting out there and challenging themselves in this way. Everyone is eager to get the competition season started. The majority of our competitive team is in its first year of a new level and have been working incredibly hard the last couple of months on learning and perfecting their required skills. We are excited to see them perform and strive to accomplish their goals this season. This is the second competitive event the Novas have participated in this season, as they took part in a competition in Winnipeg back in December. On average, the team attends around 7 competitions per season across Manitoba, as well as the provincial championships, which are scheduled for April. As for the club itself, the Novas have just recently started the second session of registered winter classes. In total, they have 183 gymnasts signed up for the second session, with 16 of those involved in the competitive aspects of gymnastics. The Novas also have 8 recreational coaches and 2 competitive coaches. To go along with the coaches, Lee Batillier noticed that there were about 12 volunteers per session who offered to assist with the Nova's competitive event at the Yellowhead. The Neepawa Gymnastics Club is a non-for-profit organization that provides preschool, recreational, pre-competitive, competitive, and wellness programs to Neepawa and surrounding communities. The club began over 40 years ago and provides an opportunity for kids of all ages and athletic abilities to participate in gymnastics. More information on the Neepawa Novas can be found on their website www.neepawanovas.ca or on their Facebook page. Paramedic services and ambulance continue to evolve. Submitted by Ken Waddell. In the past few decades, the supply of paramedic services has evolved immensely. In the 1950s in rural Manitoba, if an ambulance service existed, it was often run as a side business from the local funeral home. When an emergency call came in, if there was time, the sign on the station wagon might be changed, but everybody knew it was a hearse. One of the most famous ambulance hearse combo units was the huge tail-finned 1959 Cadillac station wagon. Such a vehicle today, in running condition, is worth a lot of money as a collector's item. Scharf's Funeral Home in Holland, Manitoba had such an arrangement. The Holland facility was right across from the school I attended, and we students would ponder which task was ahead as the garage doors opened and the vehicle headed out. If it went really fast, we knew it likely was an ambulance call. By the 1980s, most towns had a separate ambulance service and usually volunteer ambulance attendants. The system worked well for the expectations of the time. Volunteers were sometimes people with formal medical training, but sometimes they may have just had some life-saving courses. The services were privately owned and operated, usually financed by fees and a municipal or town financial contribution. As the cost of an ambulance and equipment increased and the demand increased for better training, the evolution of ambulance services steadily moved away from local ownership to being taken over by the regional health authorities. The transition was an arduous process. EMS in the present. Nowadays, ambulances are owned by the provincial government and regulated and operated by Shared Health. There are many ambulance garages around the province in many towns with full-time paid paramedics. In an interview with the Banner and Press, Callum Melvin, who coordinates ambulance services, said there was an announcement in 2018 that a number of ambulance garages would be closed due to low call volumes. 11 were on that list from Western Manitoba. Melvin said some are very close to each other. Melvin explained the trend today is towards full-time, highly trained paramedic staff. It's a full-time career job. That is in contrast to trained volunteers, which have been the practice in many communities. Melvin explained that many of those trained volunteers have or are retiring after 25 to 30 years of service. Due to staffing shortages and low call volumes at some EMS stations, calls may no longer be answered by local stations, but from a centralized, larger station. According to Melvin, ambulance crews may be dispatched from one town to be on standby or near another town if the one or two ambulances are already on a call. We try to utilize ambulances and crews to keep waiting times as low as possible. The level of critical care is higher than it used to be, and crews may be answering a call within a wider range. As to which EMS stations will be closed is still in process, although call volumes were not released to the Banner and Press. It seems that there may be a few new stations built in strategic locations. There could well be a number that will close, and vehicles and staff centralized. Neepawa asked to assist local nonprofits by Owen Devereaux. Several Neepawa-based nonprofits are asking for a little support from the town's budget discussions for 2023. On Tuesday, January 17th, representatives with the Margaret Lawrence Home, Arts Forward, NACTV, and the Neepawa Titans all made presentations and grant requests to the council. As part of budget allocations, the town will usually set aside grant money to assist several local organizations. Last year, a little over $163,000 was set aside for grants, which were split among 16 local organizations. The first presenter of the evening was Blair Chapman, who was speaking on behalf of the Margaret Lawrence Home. He shared information on the year that was for the Margaret Lawrence Home and how 2022 was a good year for national and international travelers to visit. He encapsulated their value to Neepawa as a tourism draw and requested $2,500 in grant support. Arts Forward was next, as Ron Nordstrom spoke for the Arts and Cultural Learning Center. As part of his PowerPoint presentation, he went over the history of the building and the array of activities that occur there. He also shared details on the many capital projects they are attempting to make to the building, such as the furnace replacement and roof repair. Repairs to flood-damaged portion of the building and a renovation of the kitchen are also likely needed in the near future. Nordstrom put in a request for $22,000 in grant assistance to aid in those improvements. The final presentation was a combined request from Neepawa Access Community Television, known as NACTV, and the Neepawa Titans Junior A Hockey Club. Rain Pryor and Ken Waddell spoke on behalf of those two groups. They put in a request for some degree of assistance on a $12,000 cost of constructing a new broadcast booth at center ice of the Yellowhead Center. The new booth would house NACTV, who broadcast all Titans home games, as well as out-of-town radio broadcasters that travel to Neepawa to broadcast games live. NACTV's booth is currently located at the southeast corner of the arena, while radio broadcast must still be in the bleachers alongside the fans. The NACTV/Titans noted that they've already raised $3,500 in material and labor commitments for this specific project. The other groups also noted that they are also pursuing other grant and fundraising opportunities to assist their ventures. Council will take all these requests and review them as part of their budget deliberations. Details on the annual municipal budget are usually unveiled in the spring. And I have a few obituaries in the paper to announce. Dennis William McMillan. Dennis passed suddenly while on vacation in Daytona Beach, Florida on January 13th, 2023, with family at his bedside. He had spent his last week golfing with friends, walking on the beach, and enjoying dining out at their favorite spots. A memorial service will take place on Friday, February 3rd at 2 p.m. at the Trinity United Church in Portage La Prairie. The service will be live streamed. A link will be provided on his obituary page at www.mackenziesportagefuneralchapel.com. As expressions of sympathy, donations may be made in Dennis's memory to Central Plains Cancer Services. A tree will be planted in memory and cared for by Mackenzie's Portage Funeral Chapel. It is with great sadness that we announce the passing of our sweet boy, Xander Gregory Campbell, who left us on January 8th, 2023, at the age of 14. Xander was a kind, loving, outgoing, thoughtful soul who was wise beyond his years. He loved exploring and spending time in nature. He spent countless hours outside dirt biking, quadding, tobogganing, hiking, hunting, and building things in the bush. He was an incredibly hard worker who prided himself in a job well done. Xander had many amazing groups of friends that he loved spending time with. He had a competitive spirit and loved sports, including hockey, baseball, badminton, volleyball, junior rifle club, dirt biking, and track and field. He had a beautiful community of people surrounding him at Carberry Collegiate, and he often came home with stories about his day and how great his teachers and friends were. One of Xander's favorite things was to share and listen to stories. He was a fantastic listener. When you spoke to him, he listened with his whole soul, and he could talk to anyone about anything. He was genuinely curious about life and the world around him. He fit more living and connection into his short 14 years than many do in a longer lifetime. His bright smile, sparkling eyes, and calm spirit will be missed by everyone who had the pleasure to meet him. He was predeceased by his great-grandparents, Earl Gregory, Jim Daniel, Colin Campbell, Albert Chacon, and Elaine Cross. He will forever be loved and remembered by his parents Cody and Leanne Campbell, his younger sister Esme, and little brother Crosby, grandparents Les and Myra Gregory, Reg and Angel Campbell, aunts and uncles Jody and Darren McKay, Charlene and Ernie Clark, and Vicki Campbell, many cousins and great-grandparents Betty Gregory, Jean Daniel, Audrey Campbell, and Danny Cross. White's Funeral Home in care of arrangements. Alfred Frederick Newton. Alfred Newton passed away peacefully at Country Meadows, Neepawa, Manitoba, at the age of 102. Alfred Newton was born October 20th, 1920, to Arthur and Ella Newton at Neepawa, Manitoba. He grew up in a family of 6. At the age of 7, the family moved to Eden, and it was there that he received his formal education. In 1952, he married Daisy McIntyre of Oka River, and they took up farming together close to Kelwood. During their time farming, Alfred was very active in his community, and Daisy taught in the local school. Alfred had a sharp wit and wonderful memory. He was always kind, gentle, and thoughtful in his conversation and interactions with others. He remains dedicated to his church, and his faith was a pillar of support throughout his entire life. He was predeceased by his wife Daisy, his parents Arthur and Ella, his brother Bob, sisters Grace, Ivadel, and Betty. He will be deeply missed by his family, daughter Catherine, and son-in-law Mervyn, great-grandchildren Amber and Paul Young, brother Russ, Eileen, and nieces and nephews. The family wishes to express their heartfelt appreciation to the staff of Country Meadows here in Neepawa for the compassionate care they provided to Alfred at the end of his journey. Friends and family are invited to a service at Neepawa First Baptist Church at 11 a.m. on January 20th, 2023, with Reverend Fred Quist officiating, and White Funeral Home providing the funeral arrangements. All are welcome to attend a luncheon after the service and celebrate the life of Alfred Frederick Newton. Effie Semesco, age 94, of Alonza, Manitoba, passed away peacefully on January 11th, 2023 at the McCreary Alonza Personal Care Home. Effie was born September 6, 1928 in Alonza. She grew up on the farm in Alonza and attended Irish school until grade 8. She worked on the farm all of her life. She met John Semesco and they were married on September 28, 1946. John and Effie worked together planting a garden and picking wild blueberries and cranberries. They were married for 68 years. Effie is survived by her siblings, Pauline Sikowski, Edward Zidane, and Eleanor Stone. Her daughter, Livia Beyer, sons Philip, Roman, Larry, Richard, also 10 grandchildren and 9 great-grandchildren. She received great care at the Alonza McCreary Personal Care Home, and the family would like to thank the staff there. We are grateful for your care and kindness shown towards Effie. She will be greatly missed by her family and friends. Funeral service for Effie was held on Wednesday, January 18th at 10:30 a.m. at the Alonza Community Center. Father Oleg Bonarski officiated the service. Interment followed in St. George's Ukrainian Catholic Parish Cemetery. Should friends so desire, donations may be made in memory of Effie to St. George's Ukrainian Catholic Church, Alonza, Manitoba. Vivian Irene Wolaniuk. It is with deep and heartfelt sadness that the family of Vivian Irene Wolaniuk share that she passed away unexpectedly on December 31st at the age of 90. Born April 3, 1932, in Coronach, Saskatchewan, Vivian moved to Manitoba with her parents, Harold and Gladys Goodwin, at age 6. In 1954, Vivian married William Bill Wolaniuk, a young farmer from Arden, who she'd spent the next 68 years loving and lovingly arguing with. She is already missed by her 5 children, Valen, Nemi, Brian, Karen, Leanna, Dale, Maureen, and Morgan, Pat, her 15 grandchildren, and too many to count great-grandchildren, and a crowd of nieces, nephews, cousins, and old friends. She had other jobs over the years, including working at the Neepawa press office. Bill and Vivian moved from the farm to Neepawa in 1993, where she lived the rest of her days. Vivian kept up with technology. She always had a new camera or a video camera on hand. She had Facebook before some of her grandkids and wore out her first tablet playing Candy Crush. She listed her most recent occupation on LinkedIn as household engineer. She was an adventurous lady who liked to camp, to travel, and spend 20 winters as a snowbird with Bill in Donna and Weslaco, Texas. She was fulfilled and thrilled to fulfill a lifelong dream by visiting England in 2015 and worked in a quick stop to Paris too. She lived a full life, rich in what mattered. All those that loved her can only hope to do the same. White's Funeral Home of Neepawa. in charge of arrangements. And Carberry locals were honored at the annual chamber meeting by Casper Wareham. Carberry's Chamber of Commerce got a jump start to a new year at its 2023 kickoff meeting earlier this month. At this meeting, the Chamber reviewed the 2022 year and laid out plans for 2023. Carberry residents Keith Loney and Amy Smart were recognized with Honor 150 medals at the Carberry Chamber of Commerce recent kickoff meeting. The Carberry Chamber is moving forward with meetings set on every Wednesday of the month, alternating between lunch and evening meetings in the hopes of bringing in as many voices as possible from local businesses. 2022 financials are to be reviewed at the next meeting, and planning for the 2023 homecoming event set for August 26th. The Moonlight Madness, Christmas Parade, Carberry Bucks, and holiday train events in 2022 were all deemed a success. And the last on the list is the Neepawa Viterra Championship, being held at the Yellowhead Center. Tickets are on sale now from February the 8th to February the 12th. Visit neepawacurl2023.com to purchase your tickets and see the best in the province for the men's provincial curling. And that's it for the Neepawa Banner and Press for Friday, January 27th, 2023. Thank you for listening.